A single woman, 1,000 ships, and a war that lasted 10 years. Was the Trojan War a real historical event, or just an ancient legend? Today, we uncover the incredible story of Troy, the mighty city that inspired one of history's greatest epics.
Long before the rise of the Roman Empire, before Alexander the Great conquered the known world, there stood a magnificent city on the coast of Asia Minor. Its name was Troy. Protected by towering stone walls and overlooking the narrow waters of the Dardanelles, Troy became one of the richest trading cities of the ancient world. Merchants from Greece, Anatolia, and the Near East filled its busy streets. Gold, silver, fine textiles, and precious goods flowed through its markets every day. The city was ruled by the wise and respected King Priam. He governed alongside his queen, Hecuba, and together they raised a large royal family. Among their many children was a handsome young prince named Paris. No one could have imagined that one decision made by Paris would lead to the greatest war in Greek mythology.
According to the ancient legend, the gods themselves became involved. During a grand wedding feast on Mount Olympus, every god and goddess was invited, except one, Eris, the goddess of discord. Angered by the insult, Eris threw a golden apple into the celebration. Carved upon it were the words, "For the fairest." Immediately, 3 powerful goddesses claimed the apple: Hera, queen of the gods; Athena, goddess of wisdom and war; and Aphrodite, goddess of love. Unable to settle the dispute, Zeus refused to choose between them. Instead, he appointed Prince Paris of Troy as the judge. Each goddess secretly offered Paris a reward. Hera promised him power and the greatest kingdom on earth. Athena offered unmatched wisdom and victory in every battle. But Aphrodite made the most tempting promise of all. She promised Paris the love of the most beautiful woman in the world. Paris accepted Aphrodite's gift. He handed the golden apple to the goddess of love. That beautiful woman was Helen, the queen of Sparta. But there was one terrible problem. Helen was already married to King Menelaus of Sparta. Ignoring the consequences, Paris traveled to Sparta. When he returned to Troy, Helen came with him. Some legends say she left willingly. Others claim she was taken against her will. Whatever the truth, her arrival in Troy shocked the Greek world. To King Menelaus, it was more than a personal betrayal. It was an insult that demanded revenge. Across Greece, powerful kings and legendary warriors answered his call to arms. Thousands of soldiers prepared for war. Hundreds of ships gathered along the coast. The greatest conflict of the ancient world was about to begin. Paris accepted Aphrodite's gift. He handed the golden apple to the goddess of love. That beautiful woman was Helen, the queen of Sparta. But there was one terrible problem. Helen was already married to King Menelaus of Sparta. Ignoring the consequences, Paris traveled to Sparta. When he returned to Troy, Helen came with him. Some legends say she left willingly. Others claim she was taken against her will. Whatever the truth, her arrival in Troy shocked the Greek world. To King Menelaus, it was more than a personal betrayal. It was an insult that demanded revenge. Across Greece, powerful kings and legendary warriors answered his call to arms. Thousands of soldiers prepared for war. Hundreds of ships gathered along the coast. The greatest conflict of the ancient world was about to begin. The Trojan War had now lasted for many years. Neither the Greeks nor the Trojans could claim victory. Every sunrise brought another battle. Every sunset left the battlefield covered with broken shields and fallen warriors. Among all the heroes fighting outside the walls of Troy, one name inspired both fear and admiration: Achilles. He was the greatest warrior in the Greek army.
Legend said no soldier could match his speed, strength, or skill with a spear. Many believed he was nearly invincible. Yet even the mightiest warrior could not escape pride. A bitter argument broke out between Achilles and King Agamemnon. Feeling deeply insulted, Achilles refused to fight. Without their greatest champion, the Greek army began to lose battle after battle. Watching from the walls of Troy, Prince Hector saw his opportunity. Hector was the eldest son of King Priam and the greatest defender of Troy. Unlike many warriors, Hector did not fight for fame or glory. He fought to protect his family, his people, and his homeland. Leading the Trojan army, Hector pushed the Greeks back toward their ships. The Greek camp was on the brink of disaster. Desperate to save his friends, Achilles' closest companion, Patroclus, made a dangerous decision. He asked Achilles for permission to wear his famous armor. Achilles agreed, hoping the Trojans would believe he had returned to battle. At first, the plan worked. The Trojans retreated in confusion. But then, Patroclus faced Hector in single combat. After a fierce struggle, Hector struck the final blow. Patroclus fell to the ground. When news reached Achilles, he was overcome with grief. His closest friend was gone. His sorrow quickly turned into unstoppable rage. Achilles returned to the battlefield, wearing newly forged armor that shone beneath the sun. The Greeks cheered as their greatest warrior marched toward the gates of Troy. Soon, Achilles and Hector stood face to face outside the mighty walls. The people of Troy watched in silence. King Priam and Queen Hecuba prayed for their son. The duel that followed became one of the most famous battles in history. Spears flashed through the air. Bronze shields crashed together. Dust rose beneath their feet. After a long and brutal fight, Achilles' spear found its target. Hector fell. The greatest defender of Troy was dead. The city mourned its beloved prince. Although Achilles had won the duel, the war was far from over. The walls of Troy still stood, and one final plan would soon decide the fate of the legendary city forever. For 10 long years, the mighty walls of Troy had never been broken. The Greek army had won many battles. The Trojans had defended their city with incredible courage. Yet neither side could claim victory. The war seemed endless. Many Greek warriors had lost hope. But one man believed the war could still be won. His name was Odysseus, the clever king of Ithaca. Unlike Achilles, whose greatest weapon was his strength, Odysseus fought with intelligence. One night, he came up with a daring plan that would change history forever. The Greeks built a gigantic wooden horse. It was so enormous that dozens of soldiers could hide inside. The horse appeared to be a peace offering to the gods. Then, the Greek army did something completely unexpected. They burned their camps, boarded their ships, and sailed away from the shores of Troy. From the city walls, the Trojans watched in disbelief. After 10 years, the enemy had finally gone. The people celebrated. Some believed the war was over. Outside the gates stood the enormous wooden horse. Many Trojans admired the strange gift. However, not everyone trusted it. A Trojan priest named Laocoon warned the people. He famously declared, "Beware of Greeks bearing gifts." He begged the citizens to destroy the horse before bringing it inside the city. But few listened. According to the legend, soon afterward, giant sea serpents emerged from the sea and killed Laocoon and his sons. Many Trojans believed this was a sign from the gods. Their fears disappeared. The giant horse was pulled through the gates and placed at the center of the city. That night, music filled the streets. The people of Troy celebrated what they believed was the end of the war. But hidden inside the wooden horse, Greek soldiers waited silently. When darkness covered the city, Odysseus and his men climbed out. They quietly opened the city gates. Outside, the Greek fleet had secretly returned under the cover of night. Thousands of Greek warriors rushed into Troy. The sleeping city had no chance to defend itself. Fire spread through the streets. The royal palace was attacked. The mighty walls that had protected Troy for 10 years could no longer save it. Before sunrise, the legendary city of Troy had fallen. The Trojan horse became one of the most famous military strategies in history, a victory won not by strength, but by brilliant deception.
As dawn broke over the ancient city, the once mighty kingdom of Troy lay in ruins. Its magnificent palaces burned. Its towering walls echoed with the sounds of battle. The city that had stood proudly for centuries had fallen in a single night. King Priam, the last ruler of Troy, was killed during the final attack. The royal palace was destroyed. Many of Troy's greatest warriors had already fallen in the long years of war. For the survivors, there was only one choice: escape. According to ancient legend, one Trojan prince named Aeneas gathered a